I purchased a pair of Arkel Dolphin at 24-liter panniers and a carrying handle to use for cycle touring. As I was planning on how I was going to take baggage and things to my destination, I realized that since the Arkel bags are actually assembled with bolts and screws, not rivets, these bags could actually be part of my transportation of things to the destination, and not only just to be used while I'm cycle touring. So I realized that the assembly is based on a backing plate with screws and rail that can be removed. So I decided to use one of the panniers as a carry-on bag and put in that carry-on bag any piece that wouldn't fit in my small checked luggage, and then put the disassembled second pannier into the checked luggage to be assembled at my destination. I also purchased just a carry-on strap, and probably any carry-on strap would do, but I thought while I'm there, that I find goes fairly nicely on the actual bag, and made it quite convenient to use the bag as a carry-on and move through airports. And really it was quite light. It fit underneath the seat, so it was not something that I had to put in the overhead. And I basically carried it as a folded up messenger bag with the I removed the back assembly. So my overall process was, for the carry-on bag, put on a strap, remove the back assembly which clips onto the rack, take the second bag and disassemble it completely, and I'll show you the parts and maybe an assembly process, and put the bag, the metal parts, in my check bag, and take the one pannier with the two backing plates as the carry-on bag. Here are the main disassembled parts of the Arkel Dolphin 24. I haven't disassembled the back rail, but it could be. And basically you have the internal nuts are rubber, so they'll seal. And basically this is quite pleasing that there is no rivets or permanent fastenings throughout the whole device. This is how I set up one of the panniers in what I'll call travel mode, and then I actually take the other pannier apart and I insert the backing plate of the second pannier on the inside. So you can see here a second backing plate, so I travel with that as the carry-on. So I start with placing those in the bag and lining up at the bottom here on the inside the two holes. So do that. Take the back and we'll put a screw through the hole. The holes are snug, so it helps to have some kind of ratchet. So the back goes with the places to put the hooks on the outside. Then basically you're doing a bit of blind work here to line up the hole with the hole in the back of the bag. And basically the first one is the hardest, of course, to get the internal holes lined up with the two backing pieces, and at that point reaching for the nut, which is captive in the rubber, and starting over again, because when you took your hand out everything went to pieces. So once we have that nut started, we don't tighten it, but then we'll work around the outside and put in the screws for all the 5 lower connections between the backing plate through the bag. And to the inside plate again, grabbing a nut. And the center one is the hardest one to get going. The rest of these are not bad because there's less plastic. What I should do is get the screws all mounted through the backing plate because it's a bit tight, which is fine because we're trying to keep moisture out. So let's do that. Let's start all the screws as one piece. And work them all the way through the backing plate. I find this is also a good way if you want to clean panniers to be able to take it all apart. Great feature. I was very pleased to discover this type of construction. I think that's quite superior to anything where they use rivets, and when it breaks it's garbage. Okay, so we have our 5 screws. Now we try and get the screw to go through the bag. That's step 1. Okay, and then on the inside you're lining up the holes in the internal supports. You can tell this is a bit of a struggle to do, but the fact you can do it, to me, makes it far superior than something that's not even an option with a lot of bags. Okay, this one actually lined up nicely. Get a nut. So what we're doing is just starting each nut so we have a bit more flexibility. Definitely having all those screws in at one time is a bonus. Get started. We'll find the 5th one. Okay, so I have them all started. I'll take and now tighten them down. Well, I'll leave them like that. Once you have all 5 of the small screws started, we'll leave them loose and we'll move on to the upper rail. So the upper rail is where you attach onto your rack. So it actually does a couple things here. We'll start with putting the screws from the inside, or the bolts, I think, at this point. Again, they go through the holes in the bag. Line those up. Sometimes more difficult than it needs to be. Doable. Get to know your bag. And then they go through the holes in the backing plate. Make sure those are in place. There's one. Get that, so I get that through the bag. Not sure from the bag to there, they kind of stay in place. So when we build the outside, we have the strap for the bottom. they go on. And we have a strap that holds the handle in place. It goes on. And again, I look at all these as nicely replaceable pieces. And get those screws to stick out a little bit more. If any problems or lose, you can replace the piece versus throwing the bag away. Okay, so we've got the setup there. Then we take and here we go. The nice mechanism, it's nice sturdy mechanism from Arkel on getting on racks, and basically it hooks on the top of the back rack. But we sit it on to make sure we get everything there, and we have an extra washer, which means I missed one. We'll start with the one where I didn't miss the washer, and we'll get the screw in here, and again just lightly tighten so we have the screw started. Okay, and then we'll have to undo this guy here because I probably put the internal washer. This is where most of the pressure is on the mechanism into the bag and transferred, so the screw is quite important. So I'm doing what we've done. Sigh, but in the world again with the internal screw on, go through the inside plastic pieces. Lose all the setup that we've done. Not bad. Try and keep things loose so that you can move things around. We'll put first the connection, then this on here, the second bolt. We'll get that started. Okay, good. Everything's good, except for I've noticed I missed the washers, which go on the outside of the nuts. So I'll just take a second and remove all these screws and put the washer in. Now that I've got the washers back where they're supposed to be, and we have the nuts on the top, so everything's in place, we'll just insert based I found on whichever rack you have. You can put this into 3 positions, which is really good. So it'll align the force to keep the bag in place, either with where you want it on your rack. So anyways, then I go ahead and we'll snug up all the pieces. So I hope this video has given you some insights on the construction and assembly and disassembly of the Arkel Dolphin 24-liter panniers. I used them for my trip. They worked quite well to disassemble for the trip. Used the one as a carry-on bag, packing the other one and most of the pieces in my checked luggage, and on the other end really taking and reassembling them, using them for the week, and then disassembling and then bringing them back. Very minimized number of extra pieces of baggage. I did a self-supported tour where everything went with me, and it kept the weight down and really made everything very very useful.